You gotta hold everybody. You gotta hold everybody up. You gotta hold everybody. You gotta hold everybody up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up. Let's do that again. You gotta hold everybody. You gotta hold everybody up. You gotta hold everybody. You gotta hold everybody up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up. Just because you look like you and I look like me doesn't mean we can't be friends. You're not my enemy. You gotta hold everybody. You gotta hold everybody up. You gotta hold everybody. You gotta hold everybody up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up. People all around this world sometimes feel so sad. But when others show they care, then things won't be so bad. You gotta hold everybody. You gotta hold everybody up. You gotta hold everybody. You gotta hold everybody up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up.
Okay, I know you're on. I just want to say something. Okay, he's coming. He's coming. You gotta hold everybody. You gotta hold everybody up. You gotta hold everybody. You gotta hold Eddie up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Hold everybody up, up, up. Up, up, up. Hold everybody up. Am I on now? Okay, Karen's doing the welcome, but I wanted to say Anthony said you can't do syncopation, and look at them go.
That is not what I said.
Yes!
Let the record state that's not what I said.
Oh my goodness, Anthony underestimated us. Can you hear me? I need some control room care here. How are we doing? All right. Yay. And a gracious good morning, everybody. Was that the best song ever? Oh, my blood's going. I don't know about you guys. My name is Karen Sparrow, and I'm your worship associate this morning. Whether you are here in person or on Zoom, we are so happy you are here. Today, Reverend Lucy's talk is James Baldwin, America's Greatest Prophet. And our special speaker today is Ted Scott Feminella. The mission of our congregation says we come together to deepen our lives and be a force for healing in the world. Toward this end, we honor the Nisenan, Southern Maidu, and Miwok peoples that have committed to this land where UUSS now stands. They have never ceded, left, nor ceased to care for this land. For those of you on Zoom, if you would like to follow along today, simply click the link in the chat and the order of service is available. Does everybody have one? If not, they're on the back table. If you do not yet receive your weekly message, please fill out a welcome card in the welcome hall, newcomer's card, at the greeters table, or do it online, and we will be happy to send it to you. For our online congregation, please stay afterwards and visit with other Zoomers in the chat room. For those of you here today, it's a very special day because we're going to have coffee and tea and refreshments, conversation, and... Did you see that? That was great. Thank you. And soup. Today, the soup is provided by the choir. Yay. So as you leave today, if you haven't been here before, head to the left, form your line behind the soup line, and come out back into the welcome hall. There is no charge for lunch, but if you care to leave a donation, we will happily accept it. For those of you today, oh wait, hang on, that's later. The men's group is meeting today, and it will be at noon in rooms 7 and 8. That's a growing group, gentlemen, you need to go play. Soul Kids, as well as junior and senior high groups, are also meeting today, and we will be singing you out shortly. Today, from noon to 1:30 in the sanctuary, is a presentation of Understand Age-Related Health Changes. We do ask that if you are planning to attend and have soup, you're welcome. If you want to have a conversation while you're eating your soup, please sit in the welcome hall so that everybody can enjoy this presentation. Just a quick reminder, tomorrow is Martin Luther King Day and the office will be closed. There are so many more activities that you can participate in. Please review your blue sheet for more opportunities for socialization and learning activities. Okay, you know what time it is. It's time to turn off those cell phones. Put them in silent. Thank you. Thank you all who are doing that. So we can enjoy the rest of the service. While you're working on that task, I would like to invite Jerry Hausman up for an announcement from the Social Justice Committee.
Good morning. I couldn't be more pleased to be here because I want to re-announce that the 27th is Lobby Day at the Capitol, a day to meet face-to-face with our legislators or their staff members and advocate for a cause. Area congregations together have selected to lobby about the homeless. And it couldn't be more timely, folks, because things are not good for the homeless on that streets. This week, I talked to John, who lives in his car. He said, "Oh, Jerry, I used to be able to stay 72 hours in the same spot. Then I'd move another 72 hours. He said, now, every time the parking authority or a deputy sees us, off we have to go right away. There's no stability for us in cars." I also talked to Tracy this week. She was able to save enough money to go into a motel for 3 nights, but it was challenging because she had dogs. So she was told, take them to the Front Street Animal Shelter. She talked to the staff. "Oh yeah, we'll take care of your dogs for 3 nights. She went back to get them and they were gone. No one explained to her why. She said, "We have no advocates out there." Lobby Day is a chance to be an advocate for the homeless. There are still 6,000 homeless every night out there on our streets. You see them, they're sleeping on cardboard if they're unlucky enough not to have a tent. They are being shooed away from place to place, no place for them. Well, this week, the county opened a new shelter for 171 people. That's a plus. The minus is, they tell us, for every one they put in shelter, 3 go out on the streets. So that was a net of 531 more people on the streets because that shelter was opened. This week on Monday, the governor unveiled his preliminary budget. In it was $100 million, not for shelter, not for treatment, but for clearing camps. driving more of the homeless from place to place. We ask, where do they go? Well, they go from here to there and from there to here. Keep moving around. To show how this impact of that clearing is going to be, this week, 3 times homeless were driven away from Loaves and Fishes, in which they call sweeps. Well, where do they go when they're driven away? They go away until the police and the garbage collectors leave, then they come back. That's why it was 3 sweeps around Loaves and Fishes. Loaves and Fishes has always been sacred ground. I've had policemen tell me, we want to leave them there because that's where they get help. That's where resources are for them. Well, it looks like that sacred ground has ended. Yesterday's the legislative analyst took a look at all the governor's initiatives. And when he came to the 100 million for sweeps, he said, well, I guess we're getting more accountable out there. Accountable. I call it more militant in dealing with the homeless. So we need to lobby for the homeless, asking the legislatures or their staff to take the 100 million and put it into housing and into treatment. That has good results because the advocates for the homeless say it's step 1 starts with housing, with shelter, so they can be in a location where they can get treatment. I started Mercy Peddling in 2018. One of the first people I met was Brad. Brad was living down by the Howe Avenue overpass on La Riviera. He told me I sleep nights at Watt Avenue, it's quieter there. But then during the day, I come up to Howe Avenue access because that's where the strip malls are, and that's where other homeless people are. I gave Brad a bag of supplies, and in it was a list of resources. I kept doing that week after week for about 7 months. Brad had told me, I don't want to be inside. I've got claustrophobia. I can't. But then in about 7 months, he said, Jerry, I've got to get inside. I'm sick. I have horrible stomach illness. I need to get inside. I said, well, Brad, look on the list. There's Cece, the county navigator. She's here every Friday from 9 till noon. He said, I'll go see her. I said, please do. And he did. The next week, he said, I'm on a waiting list for an apartment. It's probably going to be 2 or 3 months. But then, luckily for him, and unluckily for millions, COVID struck because the state started immediately putting those homeless over 65, those were illnesses in shelters. Too long. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Your passion is fabulous, Jerry.
Well, if you want to hear more, we have a meeting in room 12 at noon.
Thank you, Jerry.
Yeah, be sure to go to the table. You're going to say it or no?
I am, yeah. We are proud of our Mercy Peddlers out there on the streets every day supporting the homeless in our community. So it's your turn to step up here, folks, and participate in this lobby day. There's a table, it's going to be a table for signups, and there's going to be a training next Sunday. And you will be going with other people. So I see this as a learning opportunity because we're going to be doing this a lot. So let's get started. And let's take a moment now for some deep breathing and listening to some beautiful music that Irina will share. Our chalice lighter this morning is June. She's very excited to light the chalice, and we're very excited to have her with us. We light the chalice this morning in honor of Martin Luther King Jr., a man who fought to end segregation, a man who marched to counter prejudice and oppression, a man who was filled with peace and hope and determination, a man with a promise and a dream, a man with a voice that rang out for justice and freedom. May the flame of his memory burn bright in us and inspire us today and in all the days to come. Great job.
At this time, I'd like to invite all those involved in RE. I'm not sure if junior, senior high youth groups are meeting today. Yes, no, perhaps. Yes, so all children, youth, adolescents, other synonyms, if you would make your way out to the welcome hall as we guide you in singing your song, bringing the cajon out again for that one. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Lift up your eyes. Lift up your eyes. Don't you despair. Don't you despair. Look up ahead. Look up ahead. The path is there. The path is there. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love.
I think I'm going to make that my theme song for the next 4 years. So how you doing? You doing okay? No? Yes? Maybe so? So if you don't have a prayer practice, a spiritual practice, a body-spirit practice, you need to get one. We're going to start next month having a before service time to do some body-spirit practice and give you some options, because you need to have one, and you need to have one every day. I remember the first time Trump was elected, there were 3 things that I said, and they still ring true. You gotta stop watching the news. There are people who were paid to keep track of him, and they're doing a really good job. I heard Mara Eliason this morning talk about how she, on NPR, how she's gonna focus on what she's gonna focus on, and I thought, you got this. Don't overdose on the news. You've got to have a spiritual body embodied practice, something that you do when the anxiety wells up, when you see that thing on the screen like I did at dinner the other night and a squirt of anxiety comes into your body. You got to have something to do with that. Whether it's working out, washing the dishes, praying, or the things that we'll share with you, whatever, you got to have something. You got to have it. And the third thing is you have to do something. And we're hoping to give you plenty of things to do to make a difference. Right here, there's plenty to do right here. I always think I'm going to write to my senator, but my senator agrees with me, right? He's pushing a boulder. But there's plenty to do right here. You heard Jerry's impassioned sharing. There's plenty to do. So you got to do something. And you have to celebrate. Marion and Celia shared with us that this is their 39th anniversary today. You got to celebrate. You got to find things to celebrate. You got to find reasons for joy. So you'll be hearing more from me about this for probably 4 years, just so you know. But this morning, we're gonna pray. And if you're not a prayer, just let the words flow over you and just be present with what's going on in your body. It's going to be a rather emotional service. There's going to be emotions that will be present for you. And so I encourage you to breathe. I encourage you, we talked about pedaling your feet is a great way of dealing with a lot of emotion in your body. Do what you need to do to be present for the service today. Take care of yourself. But now, in this moment, let us pray. Holy Spirit of love, bless us all with your power. Let us know that love is always with us, always there to ground us and sustain us. Help us to have eyes and minds and hearts to see the presence of love in our world. Spirit of life, which rejuvenates and encourages us, send us fresh winds of possibility to inspire our work for justice. We pray that the life force in its powerful essence surges in us to liberate us from our fears and from our negative thoughts. Spirit of gratitude, remind us of all that is good and right in our lives and in our world. Help us to never lose sight of the gifts that we have received. Mother Earth, you who are with us always, ground us in your strength. Remind us of the long arc of time and the power of your healing energy. Be with us as the days unfold. Remind us of the power of life and creation, the interdependent web that holds us all. With gratitude and humility, we pray for courage and for a path for healing and justice for all. Amen. And now let's take a moment of silence for our own thoughts and prayers.
There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. There is a love holding us. There is a love love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. We rest in this love. We rest in this love.
This quote is from James Baldwin's book, Nobody Knows My Name. It comes as a great shock around the age of 5, 6, or 7 to discover that the flag to which you have pledged allegiance, along with everybody else, has not pledged allegiance to you. It comes as a great shock to discover that Gary Cooper killing the Indians, when you were actually rooting for Gary Cooper, that the Indians were you. It comes as a great shock to discover that the country which is your birthplace and to which you owe your life and your identity has not, in its whole system of reality, evolved any place for you. The disaffection, the demoralization, and the gap between one person and another, only on the basis of the color of their skin, begins there and accelerates throughout a whole lifetime. To the present, when you realize you're 30 and are having a terrible, terrible time managing to trust your countrymen.
So, what do you preach on the Sunday before the birthday of one of the greatest civil rights leaders in our country? That is the same day as the inauguration of a racist president. What do you preach on? I chose James Baldwin. I think he's just the bracing tonic that we need in these times. Now, Baldwin's often considered in the same category as other civil rights leaders, but he actually functioned quite differently. Martin Luther King was a brilliant tactician and motivator. He worked within the system to organize people to bring about change. Baldwin was a provocateur, working from outside the system, actually outside of the country for most of his adult life. He used his writer's voice and observer's eye to speak truth to power. He likened himself to the prophet Jeremiah, who felt burdened by his vision and troubled by his role in calling out injustice. But he felt compelled to do so, almost unbearably so. Baldwin was born to a poor family in Harlem, the eldest of 9 children. Fortunately for us, teachers, both black and white, noticed his brilliance and introduced him to ideas, music, theater, literature that opened his eyes and fed his intellect. Baldwin's stepfather died just as he was graduating from high school, and so he went to work at menial labor jobs to support his family. But he always knew he wanted to be a writer. He tells a story about a pivotal moment in his life. He and his friend had gone to see a movie over in New Jersey and afterwards wanted to have a bite to eat. They were refused service at 3 separate diners because of the color of their skin. At the last rejection, Baldwin lost it and threw a glass at a waitress, which missed her but broke a window. He escaped, but the experience opened his eyes to the depth of his rage at the oppression he faced. He knew that if he didn't get away, he would likely become addicted to drugs, in prison, or dead. Soon afterwards, he received a writing fellowship and used some of the money to move to France. There he could be free from the oppression he experienced as a Black man, as a gay man. He stayed away for 9 years. But being outside of the country allowed him to see America more clearly, with deeper perspective. He explored some of these ideas in the plays and fiction that he wrote, but especially in his essays. Baldwin said that at the heart of America was the lie that America tells itself, that we are all about freedom, that our country has made some mistakes, but we strive to be fundamentally good, that we strive to live into the founding ideas that all men are created equal. But the truth, gleaned from evidence, both personal and historic, the truth found in our myths, in our systems, in our structures, the truth is that in the United States of America, white lives have always mattered more. The lie is the mechanism that allows and has always allowed America to avoid facing the truth about its unjust treatment of people of color. Baldwin says that the lie deforms the soul of the country because it allows to shield ourselves from the truth. Baldwin names that this lie is embedded in our DNA as a country. I quote him when he says, "The people who settled the country had a fatal flaw. They could recognize a man when they saw one. They knew he wasn't anything else but a man, but since they were Christian, and since they had already decided that they came to establish a free country, the only way to justify the role this chattel was playing in one's life was to say that he was not a man. For if he wasn't, no crime had been committed. That lie is the basis for our present trouble." Baldwin believed the only way to save our country was to confront the lie and heal.
My name is Michael Feliciano, and I speak to you today on behalf of the People of Color Caucus here at UUSS. You may not look at me and recognize that I am a person of color, though both of my parents were Puerto Rican, born in Puerto Rico. I fully acknowledge the privilege this has allowed me to lead a life free of racial profiling and violence, discrimination, and police brutality, my appearance. Today's musical selection invites us to reflect on the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., by illustrating the through line of oppression and violence against Black Americans that extends back many, many years before MLK and sadly confronts us in this present moment. Just as the Black Lives Matter movement is an extension and expression of MLK's legacy, the Say Her Name movement is a response on behalf of Black women everywhere in this country, ironically marginalized in the shadows of the BLM movement. You see, as a result of sexism and stereotypes, Black women are often blamed for the societal violence against them and pushed to the margins in these narratives of violence against Black Americans, especially by the sensational media. This song that you're about to hear is a poignant reminder for us today on the eve of MLK Day 2025, that police brutality and violence against Black women is very much still a problem, and apparently one not going away anytime soon. We ask that you refrain from applause at the end of this piece. And thank you for listening.
Say her name, say her name, say her name. She cannot be forgotten by us. Say her name, say her name, say her name, say her name, say her name. Say her name, say her name. She cannot be forgotten by us. Say her name, say her name, say her name, say her name. Put her name in the air. 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 Say her name. Say her name. Say her name. Say her name. She cannot be forgotten by us. Say her name. 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 She cannot be forgotten by us. Say her name. Breonna Taylor. Say her name. Tatiana Jefferson. Say her name. Pamela Turner. Say her name. Philando Castile.
Eric Garner. Michael Brown. Say his name. Oh, they cannot be forgotten by us. Oh, say their names. Say her name. They cannot be forgotten by us. Oh, say her name. Say her name. Say her name. Say her name. She cannot be forgotten by us. Say her name. Say her name. Say her name. Say her name.
From Notes of a Native Son, written in 1955. I love America more than any other country in the world, and exactly for that reason, I insist on the right to criticize her perpetually. From The Fire Next Time, written in 1963. To accept one's past, one's history, is not the same thing as drowning in it. It is learning how to use it. An invented past can never be used. It cracks and crumbles under the pressure of life like clay in a season of drought. From his 1972 book, No Name in the Street, ignorance allied with power is the most ferocious enemy of justice.
The second part of my sermon is titled Ignorance. I grew up in the mid-20th century in an all-white neighborhood in Hayward, California. There were a few people of color in my elementary school, but they lived over there. My best friend was a Japanese girl. We were inseparable at school, but I never visited her house, and she never came to mine. I remember knowing that I shouldn't ask why. I do not recall ever learning about the Japanese internment camps as a child, nor was I taught about the civil rights movement that was happening or the Native American genocide. In fact, I was taught that the indigenous people were the aggressors and that all race issues ended with the emancipation of the slaves. Baldwin came back to the U.S. in 1957 as the civil rights movement was heating up and continued to bear witness. He said that he came back after seeing a picture of the face of a young woman who was walking through a white gauntlet of hate as one of the first blacks to desegregate a school. She walked alone, and that disturbed him, and so he came home. He continued to speak and write about race, including his best-selling book, The Fire Next Time. He worked closely with Martin Luther King, raising money for the movement, and was friends with many in the civil rights movement. But he was always something of an outsider because of their discomfort with his sexuality. So he charted his own path. In 1965, he debated the conservative pundit William Buckley at Cambridge University, which has since come to be seen as one of the most historic and influential intellectual debates on race relations in America, and you can find it on YouTube. Baldwin won handily. But in the late 60s, after the assassinations of many of the civil rights leaders, including Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, Metzger Evers, Baldwin fell into despair. As his biographer, Eddie Glode, said, Baldwin was in despair that a country finds itself on the precipice of significant change, only to turn its back on it all and double down on historic ugliness. In many of his essays and speeches, Baldwin named this vicious cycle of promise and betrayal in America, starting with the white power response to the Reconstruction in the late 19th century, when Jim Crow laws outdid many of the advances achieved after the Civil War. This was followed by the truncation of the civil rights movement, and in our time, the suppression of the Black Power movement in his time. The Civil Rights Act was a fabulous achievement, but it was quickly followed by a federal anti-crime legislation which militarized the police and reinforced a racist justice system, ensuring that many men of color would be imprisoned at much higher rates than white men. These cycles of promise and betrayal were a reset to our roots, a reset to the truth that we are a racist nation that claims to be democratic. I had not appreciated this arc of history until I read Baldwin. I'd only had the vaguest outline. I hadn't connected any of the dots. I was truly ignorant of the experience of soul-crushing setbacks, to use Baldwin's words. And I don't think I'm alone. And I think that's the essence of the problem. It is part of white privilege and power to be ignorant of these histories, to be ignorant of these stories, this lie of who we are as a nation. I remember a speech by Brittany Paquette, a racial justice advocate at a General Assembly, a Unitarian Universalist General Assembly. And she said that after acts of racist violence in our country, people would say, that's not who we, let me reframe that. White people would say, that's not who we are as a nation. Paquette said, that's exactly who we are, and history proves it. Many white liberals thought that all had been resolved with the election of Barack Obama. Remember that day? We had reached reconciliation. Hey, the President of the United States was the most powerful man in the world was black. Hey, didn't that just fix everything? Let's all breathe a sigh of relief. So here we are now in the next cycle of promise and backlash. Baldwin did not live to see the election of Obama, nor the uprising and subsequent suppression of the Black Lives Movement. I wish he was here to help us make sense of things. But maybe we know now more. Maybe we can see for ourselves. White liberals were shocked at the election of Donald Trump in 2016, shocked and heartbroken. We were shocked by the great reset of white power, that white supremacists, which I'm going to say are those who want white people to be in charge of everything, who we thought were just a few neo-Nazis and skinheads, we found out they were our neighbors. We found out they were our family. I've heard it said, both then and now, that, there are some good people who voted for Trump. They had their reasons. Yes, good people who responded to racist dog whistles, good people who cling to a vision of our country where white men are in charge and set all the rules to benefit themselves. Once again, we reset back to the roots of the lie. And those who claim that they didn't know Trump was racist are perpetuating that lie through their ignorance.
Generosity is a spiritual practice. Just checking. Okay. Your gifts given in the spirit of generosity support the life and work of this community and the work of our community around us. Every Sunday morning, half of our offering is given to an organization that supports healing in the world. Our community partner for January is the Sacramento Area Congregation Together, SACACT. For the last 30 years, the organization has been a powerful, multiracial, multi-faith organization, advocating a transformation of our community rooted in a shared faith and values. SACACT empowers ordinary people to identify and change the conditions that create economic and racial injustice. UUSS is so proud to be a part of the 56 congregations that make up SACACT. On the slide and in the chat on the Zoom room, we can see how you can contribute by mailing in a check, texting from your seat, or putting cash in the offering. You can even text your donation. For our offertory, Irina is playing Blackbird by Paul McCartney, as it is played by John Battista. McCartney wrote the piece as a tribute to the Little Rock Nine, a group of black students who fought to desegregate public schools during the civil rights movement. Please give generously. Your support is so welcome for our community and those we support. The offering will now be given and received. As the ushers come forward, please join with me in speaking the words of unison. May generosity bless our world, and may gratitude nourish our spirits.
From just above my head. 1978, published after his death in 1987. Not everything is lost. Responsibility cannot be lost. It can only be abdicated. If one refuses abdication, one begins again. From a 1978 interview, I live a hope despite my knowing better. From his book titled The Fire Next Time, 1963, in our time, as in every time, the impossible is the least one can demand. And one is, after all, emboldened by the spectacle of a human history in general, and American Negro history in particular, for it testifies to nothing less than the perpetual achievement of the impossible.
Let's all take a deep breath together. And one more. And another thing you can do is just shake it off. You hold it in your body, you need to shake it off, and then you can receive. The third part of my sermon is titled Begin Again, after the title of a book by Glaude, amazing book, I highly recommend it. And so, we begin again. Here we are, 2024, on the eve of the second inauguration of Donald Trump. 25. Make no mistake about it, folks, we are not the same people we were 8 years ago. We have recovered a bit more quickly this time from the shock. And now we're going about getting our wits about us and beginning again. The veil of ignorance has been lifted from those among us who have a moral compass. We no longer buy into the lie that we tell ourselves that we are a good country that has made some mistakes. That ended when 400 years of racist hate and suppression pressed down on the neck of George Floyd in liberal Minneapolis. And no one stopped it. But someone recorded it, and that made all the difference. Baldwin moved back to France in 1968 and remained there until he died of cancer in 1987. However, his voice is more powerful now than ever. There has been a resurgence of interest in his work as we attempt to navigate the challenges of a world in crisis. Eddie Glaude, the author of that Begin Again book, says that Baldwin always believed that we could be better than we are. That he also understood that the battle to choose life was fought every day, and that imagination was his most potent weapon. So Claude asks us, how do we muster the courage to keep fighting in the face of abject moral failure? I know that we are weary, discouraged, angry, and fearful. I know. We must do what is necessary to restore and sustain ourselves. And we can learn a lot from people of color who have had to sustain themselves through difficulties for hundreds of years. But know that we are not powerless. This is still a democracy. And we have energy and resources and a strong voice when we come together. We have our UU values to ground and inspire us. And we have each other. And we have all those 49.999% of the people who didn't vote for Trump who share our desire for a more loving and just world. And with that, nothing is impossible. For those of us who are white, we have some work to do. We have to have the will and courage to face the lie and see our country for what it is. You know, it's not about those white supremacists. It's not about those Trump voters. It's also about us. We have to see our role in perpetuating the lie. And with that, we can begin again. So may it be.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love inside us through the dark night. If you cannot be like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way. Oh, on the road from greed to giving, love will guide us through the dark night.
Woo! Please join with me in speaking together the words as we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but we carry the light, love, and commitment scattering into the days to come.
Let's reach out to the past. Let's reach out to the future. Let's reach out to possibility. I want to give James Baldwin the last word this morning. This is from the last speech that he gave before he died. We are living in a world in which everybody and everything is interdependent. It is not white. It is not black. The future of this world depends on everyone in this room. Thank you, James Baldwin, for being our prophet. May we be blessed by your words and by all the gifts that you gave us. Amen.